Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. This evening, we are joined by the lovely Claire, who is going to be talking to us about metabolic balance and also generally balancing your metabolism in menopause, which is a bit of a tongue twister, isn't it? So I know some of you, I've spotted some familiar names, so nice to see you and thanks for joining this evening. My name is Charlotte Hunter. I'm a nutritional therapist. I specialise in menopause. I won't go through who I am again because I feel like I go through that several times a week. But just to speed things up this evening, because I know it's getting late and I'd really like tonight to be useful to you rather than me talking. You can go to my website, which is www.mymenopausenutritionist.com. So that's got lots of information about me, Claire, really what we do and how we do it. So what I'm going to do is hand over to you, Claire. I'm sure you can introduce yourself and then we'll just get started. Just a word on questions. If you do have questions, please add it to the Q&A and I'll keep an eye on those and I will hopefully answer them as we go through. I'll certainly interrupt you, Claire, to ask the questions, or we'll leave the questions till the end and we can go through them, but please just keep asking questions. I mean, we're a really small group and I think if we ask the questions as we go through, it's much easier, I think. Anything we don't answer or anything we don't have time to answer, we'll email you, or if there are questions you want to ask but you don't want to ask tonight, you can email Claire at hello@charlottehunternutrition.co.uk. So over to you, Claire.
Well,
be quiet.
First problem is, no, I want to share my screen, but I think I need to enable that for me to do that.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. Yeah, that was my, yeah, just bear with me. I actually thought I'd done that. Apologies. Right, that should work.
Okay, so just let me know if you can all see that. Yeah? Yep. Okay, cool. So hello everyone and welcome. So I'm Claire and I'm going to run through what the Metabolic Balance program is and how it can play a key role in helping women as they head towards menopause. So just a little bit about me. So I'm Claire Kennedy. I'm a registered nutritional therapist. I did a degree in nursing 27 years ago, and then I went to work in intensive care. So I specialised in neuro and then general, and then really once I burnt myself out, I went to work in the pharmaceutical industry as a research nurse. I then had my children and I found a new way of looking at health when I saw a nutritional therapist to help my son recover from gut symptoms and food sensitivities, where conventional medicine wasn't able to help. So I decided to retrain then as a nutritional therapist. And during that time, I hit perimenopause and experienced all the delightful non-specific symptoms that come with that. So I honed my interest in supporting myself, and now I support women in this turbulent time of their life. So I'd never really been educated on this period of transition, and I wanted to share all my knowledge with other women. So clinically, I work with Charlotte and I support her clients, and I focus on supporting women through their 40s and 50s to maintain a healthy lifestyle, and part of my work has a strong emphasis on weight management. So I also support Charlotte's business behind the scenes as well, and I support the admin side of things. So for most people, I think issues with weight become even more difficult at this time, and weight loss can be really hard work. Women have spent many years probably trying different diets, and sometimes they've worked in the short term, but they've, once they finish the diet, they see the weight go back on, and sometimes even more. So as you're going to see, metabolic balance isn't just about weight loss. It has got a strong focus on metabolic health, and I think that's why I really love it so much. So yeah, if you've got any questions, we can go through this at the end. So let's get going. So to start with, I'm just going to add some context. I think it's important to look at some quite staggering statistics These numbers are for England, but actually the numbers are really similar across the developed nations. The numbers for 2018 were 1 in 7 men and 6 out of 10 women were overweight or obese. And that number is increasing year on year. I couldn't actually find any stats for more recently than 2018, but I've got no doubt that they are even higher than that. So going back only a decade ago, and that number was around 56% of all adults. This is just something we didn't see 30 or 40 years ago, and I'm going to explain why these issues have become so prevalent. Just a few more facts. Only a third of women eat 5 portions of fruit and veg a day. So with the average amount being about 3 portions, and most people eat those same 3 vegetables every night of the week. So there's often very little variety there. So and around a third of adults are considered to be inactive, and around 1 in 10 people over 40 in the UK living with type 2 diabetes. And that's as a direct result of increase in obesity rates. So while not every case of type 2 diabetes is caused by excessive weight, it is the single greatest risk factor for developing the condition. And if nothing changes, it's predicted that around 5.5 million people will have diabetes in the UK by 2030. So research has shown that for most people, combined lifestyle interventions, which include diet, physical activity and sustained weight loss, can be really effective at reducing the risk of type 2 diabetes by around 50%. So this little graph here gives us a little bit more information as to why it's becoming a problem. So the number of food products introduced into the food market classified as condiments, sweets, snacks and bakery food parallels the increased prevalence of obesity. So you have a look at the graph. We're going back to the 1970s here. You can see that for that period of time, the average BMI stayed static until the late 70s or early 80s. And that's when people started to get more access to these processed foods and snacks. And you can see there's a direct increase in the average BMI. Interestingly, at that time, a controversial study was published. It's called the Framingham Heart Study. And this showed that coronary heart disease was the principal cause of death, and they blamed cholesterol for its main cause. And as a result, the food industry started developing low-fat and fat-free foods. So we know that fat-reduced foods contain larger amounts of carbohydrates, especially starches and sugar. So with less fat and higher refined carbohydrates in the diet, people have significantly increased their body weight. So for a long time, nutritional advice has persisted in recommending low-fat products, although I do think it started to trickle down. That isn't the case, but it's something that Metabolic Balance doesn't advise. So what we do know is that these sugary foods have a dramatic impact on our blood sugar levels. So if you look at this slide here, you can see that when we eat something really sugary, you see a rapid rise in the level of blood sugar. And this is because we get this rise in blood sugar, we release insulin, which is the green line here, in order to get that sugar where it needs to go in the cells. So then once it's pushed that sugar into the cells, we get a rapid drop in a blood sugar, and this leads us to feeling really, really hungry. So if you look at the bottom of the graph here, you can see the time scale in hours, and you'll see that if we're eating this way, we're going to feel really hungry within around 2 hours here. So this is what's happening when we eat these highly processed sugary foods. We're getting a really rapid rise in a blood sugar, then a sudden drop, and this is what leads to all sorts of complications. So if you look at this similar graph, when eating slower release carbohydrates, such as fruits and vegetables, we're getting a much gentler rise and more sustained release of energy. So we're getting greater satiety, that's how full we are, and it's longer lasting. So if you look at the blood sugar line, we should be able to get up to about 5 hours between periods of eating in the daytime without feeling ravenously hungry. Unfortunately, we've been duped by the food industry into believing that we need to snack and graze all the time to keep our energy up. I don't know about you, but I was definitely taught grazing was the way to eat. But I think that set us up from some of the problems we're seeing today. So Metabolic Balance prefers these carbohydrates with long chains called complex carbs. So they lead to a slow rise in blood sugar and a slow rise in insulin. So we maintain our blood sugar balance, which leads us to feeling fuller for longer. So thinking about those graphs we saw before, insulin levels rise as our blood sugar levels rise, and insulin levels are needed to get that sugar into our cells. But the high insulin also leads to an increase in blood lipids. And those are the fats in our blood. So if you get blood tests done, you'll see maybe cholesterol and triglycerides will be on there, and they're classified as blood lipids. So you get an increase in the stress hormones, things such as adrenaline and cortisol. And when insulin levels are high, it can lead to an increase in our blood pressure and us storing more of our food as fat. And we end up with reduced levels of anti-inflammatory hormones, such as anti-aging hormones, and a lower ability to burn fat. Actually, insulin, it blocks some of our really important hormones, such as melatonin, which is what we need for sleep, DHEA, which is another one which it's a hormone we use to make our sex hormones, and HGH, which is human growth hormone. It's often been described by some as the key to slowing the aging process and maintaining our bone and muscle mass. So these hormones have powerful anti-inflammatory and antioxidant effects and are really important for people with inflammatory conditions. And this is certainly the reason that menopausal and perimenopausal women report very significant improvements in their symptoms when they do the Metabolic Balance Programme. So if you've been used to trying different diets in the past, you'll be aware of what's called the yo-yo effect. And what happens is we go on a diet, no matter what diet that is. You might lose a lot of weight in the first instance, but then you're not breaking down any fat. So we're depleting our stores and eliminating a lot of water, but we're not actually breaking down fat. So when we start eating normally again, because our body has essentially been in starvation mode, it's used up its nutrients and protein stores. So as soon as we start eating again, our body accounts for this basically and holds on to the energy we take in, and then it lays it down as fat. So most diets are low in carbohydrates, and this is what causes the yo-yo effect. You know, in a weight loss diet, your body needs more protein, and if you're restricting that, you're going to lose muscle mass. So you've got what's called an amino acid pool. So it's proteins that we get broken down into their simplest parts, and these are called amino acids. And we really need that pool to be at a sufficient level because we use these amino acids to build everything from muscles and hormones to neurotransmitters in the brain and helping to make energy. Our body needs those, and if we've been starving ourselves, the body will need to replenish those stores, and it will make us ravenously hungry, and we'll keep eating basically until those protein levels are restored. So what happens then is we go on these crash diets. We might lose 5 or 10 kilos, but as soon as we start to eat normally again, we're going to see the situation where we rapidly put that weight back on, and even sometimes more. And that can be really, really discouraging if you're going through the cycle over and over again. And this is what sets metabolic balance apart from other diets which bring you short-term weight loss. So when you lose weight on the metabolic balance plan, you know, the results are much more long-term. So here's a quote which I think helps us think about food in a slightly different way. So the food you eat can either be the safest and most powerful form of medicine or the slowest form of poison. So for many of us, I think we've never really been taught what to eat or how to eat. We learn from our families, from society, from the latest diet guru, and we pick up these principles as we go along, and we incorporate them into our lives without an understanding really about what foods are right for us and in what quantities, and what metabolic balance aims to help you is to understand, you know, what you should be eating. I think the reality is most of us know that if we fuel our body with junk, our body isn't going to be supporting us and we're going to feel awful. Whereas if we support our body with the foods on the right here, our body knows what to do with these foods. These are the foods we've eaten for millennia, and these are the foods that our body is able to deal with and able to process to really support our optimal health. Just before I go on to tell you about the programme, I'm just going to divert for a moment into some work that Tim Specht has been doing and his Zoe research. You might have heard of the team at King's College in London. They've been doing a lot of research into COVID. They developed the Zoe app. They're looking at gut health and diet generally. They've been conducting the largest study of nutrition and menopause in the world, and just last week they've released a preprint in The Lancet, which is a very well-respected medical journal. The research looked at the impact of menopause on metabolism, particularly the effects of what they eat and how this relates to their health. So So in their study, the researchers analysed data from over 1,000 participants and looked at the effects of menopause on body composition, sleep, heart disease risk, gut microbiome composition, and the impact eating has on these factors. And they found that menopause leads to significant changes in a woman's metabolism, and it's linked with excess weight, higher blood pressure, higher blood sugar levels, worse sleep, and a higher risk of heart disease and prediabetes. And this was independent of age, which means that menopause was the likely reason, not aging. And I think that's what this means is Metabolic Balance could be a really fantastic program for so many women at this stage in their life. So now I'll just take you through what the program is. So what is Metabolic Balance? So it's a personalised food-only nutrition plan. There's no meal replacements, no shakes, no supplements. It was developed in Germany following 20 years of research, and it's a practitioner-led program. So that means that only somebody qualified in nutrition can guide you through this program. It's typically a 12-week program, and it consists of 4 phases. And you progress through these phases tailored to your goals and needs. Although weight loss is the goal for most people, what I find really exciting is that it's designed to reduce inflammation. And as we know, most disease processes within the body are underpinned by inflammatory change. So in a way, weight loss is a byproduct of this program, and it's very, very much more than that. So this program uses your body measurements, any conditions that you might have, and any medications you're taking, as well as your food likes, dislikes, tolerances, and of course a set of comprehensive blood results. And for those of you that are interested, this is a standard haematology. It's full blood count and biochemistry, thyroid function, it looks at liver function, immune status and inflammation, cholesterol, and fasting glucose. And these are all the markers that Metabolic Balance requires to generate the plan. Some of the recommendations and correlations are obvious, such as increasing iron-rich foods if your iron levels are low, but others are made using very sophisticated algorithms which they've developed over many years. The exact foods perfect for you are selected that will supply your body with precisely the nutrients it needs to be healthy. The aim is to readjust your overall metabolism to have long-term sustainable optimum health and weight. In terms of what happens, it starts with an initial consultation where we go through what's going on with your current health, what your goals are. We take your measurements and we talk about whether the program is right for you. We then organise for the blood tests to be done. Once we have the results of those, they're sent off to Germany and you'll get your plan back. It'll be a personalised nutrition plan that's completely unique to you. So you can't share your plan with anyone because it's taken into consideration all those health markers. But once you have your plan, we're able to work together over 12 weeks where we go through the phases together, and I'll be there to support you, to mentor you and cheer on your successes, obviously, and help troubleshoot. So here's an example of a plan that someone might get. It's not prescribed and that you have to eat this on a Monday and this on a Tuesday and this on a Wednesday. There's a lot of flexibility, gives you a few options for breakfast, lunch and dinner. It's really specific about how much of each food to have. But people do get very used to this quickly. And within a couple of weeks, most people will know what 145 grams of chicken looks like. Some people will get eggs on their plan, some won't. Some will get oats, some won't. Some people get lots of different types of fish. Some will only get a few. It really is really individual, and it comes down to what's right for you and your physiology. So here's an example of the types of food that someone might get. So you can see that this person's got goat's milk, but you might not. He's got a number of cheeses, you might not. And just because you don't have a particular food on the list right now, it doesn't mean that you can't have it forever, and it can be introduced slowly in the later phases of the programme. Even the types of vegetables varies from person to person, and fruit tends to be very limited, but it will always have an apple on it, and that is one of the compulsory parts of the programme. You have to have an apple a day with one of your meals. So we say to try 3 different types of protein throughout the day in order to cover the whole amino acid profile, which we discussed is so important for your metabolism and keeping muscles strong. So a different protein at lunch and a different protein at dinner. You'll probably get rye bread as well on your plan. It's important to make sure this is pure rye bread. As lots of, many loaves in this country particularly tend to be blended with wheat. You can use rye vita, but the Metabolic Balance Plan is a wheat-free program. And having a break from wheat is very helpful at reducing inflammation. And most people actually say they've never felt better. So here's some examples of people who've been through the metabolic balance journey. So you've got James Corden, Sam Smith, Boy George, and Kirsty Allsop. But here's the thing. So we talk about weight loss as an aspect of metabolic balance, but it isn't just about weight loss. It's transforming your health. It's an anti-inflammatory program. It's about having vibrant energy and glowing skin and all those aches and pains being relieved. I'm just going to finish with this quote: "The greatest medicine of all is teaching people how not to need it." And actually, this is what sums up what the metabolic program is all about. It's about teaching you what foods are right for you and the right way to eat. You'll notice that there was only breakfast, lunch, and dinner on the plan. So we say no snacks, but it can take a bit of time to get used to that. The plan's been designed to make you feel satiated, and your body will get used to it. The first couple of weeks tend to be the most challenging. It takes some adjustment, but it's advisable to clear some space in your diary, to take it a bit slower and give your body time to adjust. So the final quote is, "Fix the imbalance and live your best life." And really, to me, that's ultimately the goal of everyone who wants to do metabolic balance. They really want to get those imbalances sorted so that they can live a happy, healthy life. So I hope you found that interesting. If you'd like to find out if it's right for you, please get in touch. You can email me at hello@charlottehunternutrition.co.uk.
Thank you, Claire. Brilliant, thanks, Claire. I have got some questions here. Well, I've got one from Kat, and I've got my thoughts on this, but I'll ask you first, see if your thoughts are slightly different to mine. So she was wondering if the advice is still the same for clients with reactive hypoglycemia. And I'm guessing from that question, she's talking about the 3 meals a day, the no snacking, and allowing those periods of fasting between each meal.
Yeah, I think it does take time to get used to it. Metabolic balance isn't the right program for everybody. I think we'd need to look at your whole health history before deciding whether it would be right. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, Charlotte.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I mean, with all my clients, if I have an inquiry from someone, whether they've read about metabolic balance in the media or they've found it online or they were recommended by a friend, I'll always say, well, before we do anything, let's just have an initial consultation. If we decide metabolic balance is right for you, I always deduct the price of that from their whole plan, or we'll just completely change direction and do something different. So I think it's something that you're not necessarily tied in. If I'm interested in metabolic balance, it doesn't mean that you actually have to do the whole thing. I mean, some people I think are absolutely dead set on it, regardless of what we might say or recommend. But I think you're right. It's about finding the right plan for the right person. And
definitely.
Yeah, with Kat's question about hypoglycemia, I think I would still go with the 3 meals a day where possible. And even clients of mine who do have reactive hypoglycemia, I find regular snacking, regular carbs just makes it worse. And I know that a lot of people may disagree with me, but again, it depends on the person, and it depends on your day, your commitments, your life, your what do we call it, life load, I suppose. So if you're working, you leave the house at 6 o'clock in the morning and you're not home until 9 o'clock at night, then that's a really, really long time to go just having 3 meals. You might want an afternoon snack, but I think it's, just to echo what you said, it's dependent on the individual.
Yeah,
definitely. Have we got any other questions? I always think no questions is a reassuring sign, or that's what I tell myself anyway. I think with metabolic balance, one of the questions I get is it's always about, you know, how much commitment do I need? You know, how do I have to follow it? Do I have to follow it to the absolute letter? You know, how strict is it? I mean, what would you say to that?
I would say that you get out what you put in. So if you're the type of person that cannot commit to this, then you are not going to get out as much as, you know, if you are the type of person that likes to follow things to the rule, it's really going to suit you. If you're not that sort of person, then you probably will get something out of it, but you're going to find it harder to
it's going to stress you out.
It's going to stress you out. It is, because if it, you know, we're all different, right? You know, and some people really like a plan. They like to know what they're going to eat. They just like that, and that is perfect for you if you're that type of person.
I think as well, if you've done lots of diets and haven't got the results you wanted, and yes, I am using a diet, and I am using it in the context of losing weight. I know we're often not allowed to use the word diet anymore. It's become a bit of a dirty word. But you know, diet is the food that we're eating, and in the context of this, we're talking about it in relation to managing our weight. And I think, yes, if you want a really, really structured approach, it's perfect. And if you've tried lots of diets and nothing's worked, and you've got, I just want to try something completely different, then, you know, it's very, very structured. I mean, I think it has got some degree of flexibility, because as you said in your talk, Claire, it's not that you're told exactly what to have for breakfast, lunch and dinner, but you are given food types that you have to have at breakfast, lunch and dinner. And the types of food that you're eating might be different, may be restricted in some way. So, you know, your favorite fish might be salmon, but that might not be in your list, which means no salmon. You know, the same with some of your vegetables. You know, there tends to be a lot of green vegetables, whereas if you love red peppers, you know, again, they might not be on there. So I think with metabolic balance comes, well, I think a shift in mindset comes with it. And as you said, you have to put a lot in to get the results that you want.
I think though, sorry to interrupt, I just was just going to say, you know, I think the strictest period of time is the first 16 days. So you know, it is very structured in those first 16 days, but what beyond that, that's what metabolic balance wants you to do, is to start to incorporate this into your everyday life. So it really, you know, they insist, you know, going forward after those 2 weeks, that you have a treat day, 1 day a week, where you you know, you challenge your metabolism by eating really whatever you want. Then the rest of the week you follow the plan, and gradually you can introduce more and more foods that you know, there's an expanded list on phase 3, so you can incorporate some you know, to broaden your repertoire of foods, really, which is really important for, as we know, for our gut health as well.
So we've got a question asking, what happens after the 12 weeks? Are meals suitable to share with the whole family?
So some people want more support for longer than 12 weeks. So, you know, 12 weeks doesn't just come to an end like it might with other diets, where you can suddenly stop eating what you want again. But yeah, I think you should be able to design your meals around your, you know, with your family in mind. So I think really rice and potatoes tend, for example, not to be on the plan, but as you get further towards the end of the 12 weeks, you might be able to manage. Depends what your goals are, you know. If you've reached your goals by the end of the 12 weeks, then start putting some more of those carbohydrates back into your diet. Maybe you'll be able to cope with a little bit, but not much. You know, and there's no reason why your family, it is just a food-based plan. There's no reason why you can't incorporate this way of eating with your family.
I think
if you blend what you're eating with what they're eating, it is just food at the end of the day. I mean, you've really got to be able to cook to do the plan. That's the only thing.
Or I think you can assemble.
Yeah.
as long as you can I think there's lots of shortcuts as well. That's our role, isn't it? That's what we do to help our clients. And if you're not a great cook, or you're not, you're short on ideas, we can give you some suggestions and some guidance. Because you might think, well, one of my breakfast options is, I think one of them is something like seeds, vegetables, and then you can have your fruit. And a lot of my clients are like, what on earth do I do with that? How do I just eat seeds and fruit for breakfast? Well, we might think straight away, well, dead easy. You can make a smoothie, you can throw your piece of fruit in, your seeds, mix in an avocado, some vegetables, or you can make a winter salad and sprinkle the seeds and the nuts on top, or you could blend the fruit in different ways, or almost make a muesli out of it. There's so many different ideas that we automatically think of, but our clients who have this new food plan, they're like, what do I do? But that's completely our job, isn't it? We're the ones, we've got to do the hard work in some ways. Well, actually, the hard work is putting it into practice. I think in terms of sharing with your family, it depends on the foods in your list. I mean, if you can have chicken and a variety of vegetables, well, if you're doing a roast chicken for the family, have all the vegetables that are on your list and just leave out the ones that aren't on your list. You can still enjoy a sociable meal with your family without feeling like you have to have something completely different. It all just takes a bit of work, though. It's planning, isn't it? I think more than anything.
I think so, but they do really want you to incorporate this into taking it into the future, into the long term. So going out and socializing and eating some birthday cake in the long term is what they want you to be able to do, whilst being able to maintain what you've achieved in that period of time that you've spent working really hard to meet your goals, whatever they are.
I think as well, with the plan itself, a lot of people start having wobbles between about 10 to 12 weeks. They start getting grumpy with us. When can I eat this? When can I eat that? What you told me that I could have, and it all starts getting a bit wobbly at that point. And I think it's our job to spot those signs, going, oh, she's getting ready. It's all a bit too much. And it may be that we maintain the principles of metabolic balance, but we start morphing the prescriptive plan into a more achievable day-to-day food plan for you, or diet.
It just depends where people have got to with reaching their goals, doesn't it? I mean, some people might reach them more quickly than others.
So we've got some good questions coming through. I've been eating this way for a number of years, as I have adenomyosis, and it's been very helpful. I'm interested to know how this can help with perimenopause, which I'm going through specifically.
Well, I guess we're talking about hormone balancing, which is really what metabolic balance is, aims to achieve. So, I think it's, really helpful for perimenopause. What do you think?
I think, when I talk to ladies about menopause, I often focus on how menopause is much more than just our estrogen, progesterone and testosterone, certainly from our perspective as nutritionists, and looking at things in a more functional way. And conventionally speaking, the focus is always on those hormones, but actually what we should be thinking about is our hormones in a much wider context. So those hormones that Claire's already mentioned. So insulin, cortisol, which is stress hormone. We've got oxytocin. We have ghrelin and leptin, which are all about our hunger. And it's often those hormones that are just as important as our female sex hormones for balancing our hormones overall. So to balance your hormones and to balance your sex hormones, you've got to be looking at supporting your stress response and your blood sugar and inflammatory processes. And I think metabolic balance ties that up quite nicely by really supporting the blood sugar side. And then the knock-on beneficial effects are lowering inflammation and also helping you manage your stress response. Because if you've got issues with stress, blood sugar, or inflammation, it's likely to cause or exacerbate some of those hormone symptoms you see, typically in perimenopause, where everything's just going a bit haywire. You know, you've gone through your earlier reproductive years where your cycles are fairly predictable for most people. Obviously that's not the case for everyone, but you hit perimenopause and it's just a case of anything goes. You know, you may have wild fluctuations 1 month to the next. So if you can really work on your blood sugar, I think that's probably one of the best things you can do for that particular time.
Yeah, and I think the important thing is to realize as well that you know, as we are heading into you know, midlife, we naturally do become more insulin resistant. So focusing on that is massively important, whether you have weight issues or not. You know, I can see Alison's question is the plan suitable if your goal is not to lose weight, but just to balance hormones? And the answer is yes. You know, even if you're underweight, metabolic balance will say that it just balances your metabolism. That's what it does. So you can use it to gain weight, not just to lose weight, because it's giving you the exact, it's prescriptive about the exact, it believes are the exact amounts of macronutrients to support your metabolism and your body.
Yeah, I think with the weight loss thing, with in the first couple of weeks, even though you might not want to lose weight, you might lose a little. I mean, we're not talking huge amounts, but just a little, because you're leaving out, you know, the oils for the first couple of weeks. You're, you know, following a very, very strict plan, and you might notice a slight decrease, but very often that's down to your bowels moving better. You know, things just starting to work a bit better. But once you get back onto the actual plan itself, and you're bringing in all the oils and some of the carbohydrates as well, you know, things will start to balance out. And if you do find you're losing a little bit of weight, again, it's down to us to guide you to make sure that that doesn't happen. And I think that's the beauty of it. Although it's very, very prescriptive, we've got a lot of input to help you. I think that's how we can.
Yeah, I think that's why you
approach it.
You need guidance as well, isn't it?
Yeah. So I think that was all of our questions there. Did anyone else have any other questions? Claire, can you think of any of the questions that we often get that we haven't had this evening?
I
think we have covered everything, haven't we?
We've covered a lot, haven't we?
Yeah. I mean, I think really. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say, look, if you go away and you want to watch it again, that's fine. If you have some questions that you think of later, then that's fine. Just pop them over to me in an email and I'll answer them. That's fine.
Yeah, and I think if you want to have a talk to us as well, I'll be happy to pick up the phone and just talk you through it. But I suppose the real message from this, even beyond just metabolic balance, in terms of how to support your metabolism going through your menopause, it really is about blood sugar control. And I think, highlighting the Zoe study was really interesting. And I was thoroughly delighted when I saw that, because for the last couple of years, I've gone on and on and on about how your insulin sensitivity drops as you go through menopause. You're not as sensitive to, or you're more sensitive to glucose, you're more sensitive to sugars. And the number of people who've absolutely slammed me for saying that. So I was jumping for joy when I saw that research. I thought,
Yeah.
finally, someone is actually, you know, sticking their neck out and saying, yes, this is,
Yeah,
this
it's
actually
just
a thing.
brilliant, because you know, that there is, it's really nice, isn't it, to see some real good research being done into nutrition, particularly menopause. It's fantastic.
Yeah. So Alison's asked another good question, and again, I've got my thoughts on this, but if you want to answer it, you're very welcome to, Claire. How are your individual food types determined?
What do you mean by food types?
So I think it's how they come up with your list. And I mean, my view on this is, I'm going to be completely honest, it's all shrouded in mystery, isn't it?
Yeah, they obviously don't want to
tell us exactly how they do it.
Yeah, because I don't know, they have these this software that they've obviously developed over a long time, and you know, none of us, they won't divulge really how they come up with the food lists, but in any case, people do have brilliant, you know, they feel brilliant on it. So
believe me, Alison, I've asked a lot. I don't get anywhere. But I think, I mean, in terms of the process,
yeah, there might be obvious things, you know, actually very few people have tomatoes on their plan. That tends to be one that isn't. So, you know, then there are going to be reasons why, you know, they'll be looking at your blood results to see if you've got you know, liver problems or problems with your kidneys or whatever. And there might be foods that are less tolerated by those people with those types of blood results. But as for the algorithm, I have no idea.
No, and I think, I mean, what happens is we get your blood results, we spend ages and ages typing all the numbers into these horrible spreadsheets. It zooms off to Germany, they do their magic, and they send the report back. Sometimes it's back within 24 hours, other times it can be a few days if there's some additional things that need to be checked. But all of your data, all of your likes, dislikes, allergies, intolerances, medical conditions, as Claire said, all of that is put into the software. I mean, when I did my plan, well, the first time I did it was in 2011. Can't believe it was that long ago. That's when I did my metabolic balance training. And I looked at my food list and went, oh God, it's just all green vegetables and it's salad. It's like, what am I going to eat? I'm going to starve. And I saw carrots, and then I weighed a carrot and I was like, oh, okay. So I'm not going to be eating many carrots then. So one carrot was almost all of my vegetable intake for one meal. I thought, oh, okay. So I switched to a little bit of grated carrot on a massive salad. So I'd find the lightest vegetables I could to make my meal as big as possible. But I think as well, you learn little tricks, don't you, of what you can do. It's like an apple a day. Oh, I'll have that ginormous pink lady that's about 4 times the size of your average apple. You know, there's lots of little cheats, and there's always ways around it. So Marianne's asked, how much is the program? So we've got slightly different prices, but if you want to talk about the price, have you got your prices there?
Not to hand, not right in front of me.
I
thought you did.
So, oh, sorry, I've failed everyone. That was my job, and it's the one thing I've completely forgotten to do. So to work with Claire, for the 3 months program, it's 1397. However, we do offer payment plans, so you don't have to pay all that in one great lump sum, and that includes your blood tests, the generation of your food plan. It includes like a complimentary talk about it all before you get started, initial consultation, email support. If you need to speak to us on the phone between sessions, you know, we're happy to have a quick chat with you. So it's pretty much all the support you'd need over that 12-week period. It's quite an intense program, and even if you don't feel like you want all the support, it's better to use it all. because at some point, everyone who does the plan, it's more helpful to have that input. Now, I've got a question. Sure, it's in the interest of long-term compliance if clients really understand why specific foods are on their list and why other foods have been left out. Agreed. How much of that knowledge is passed on to clients in an educational way to ensure long-term success? I understand the need for algorithm to be confidential, but does that end up blocking the client education element? Claire?
Well, honestly, I don't think it does. You get a really wide range of foods, you know, and yes, everyone's food plans are very slightly different, but it does give you a wide range of interesting foods. You're not just stuck. You know, most people day to day will eat, you know, maybe a dozen foods over the week. We tend to buy and we tend to make the same things. You know, this doesn't have to be like that. You've got probably as many foods as more foods than you would eat normally during the week. And, you know, we would try and encourage you to try all of them. Don't just have, you know, the same things day after day. You know, I do think it's important to eat a wide range of foods. I don't know what you think, Charlotte. I understand that. I do understand the point, and it is frustrating. But I don't think you should focus on that. Actually, I think you should look at the plan for what it is, and that it does give you a broad range of foods.
I mean, I think we're asked this type of question in some way, or I have been every time I've spoken about metabolic balance for the last 10 years or so. Forgive me if I'm wrong, but I think the question sounds like it's coming from a practitioner. And if you are a practitioner, send Claire an email and she can give you the contact details of the lovely lady at Metabolic Balance. I'm sure she'd be able to hopefully fill in the gaps where we might have failed. But I think, I mean, I've seen a lot of Metabolic Balance plans of the last 10 years. And generally what I see are certain patterns with certain conditions. So, and you can use your clinical skills to try and join those dots. Yes, I don't know exactly what it is. And I think as a practitioner, you bridge the gap between the data you've got and the education that you're providing to your client. And it also depends how much education your client wants to receive. A lot of my clients, they're not interested in the education element. They just want to feel better and be the right weight for their body or bodies. Where we have people who have got higher fasting glucose, they've got higher cholesterol, we tend to see, you know, less carbohydrate allowance, less of the more carbohydrate rich vegetables, root vegetables. If you've got signs of inflammation, then, you know, some of the possibly more inflammatory foods might not be on there. But you can start to join the dots. And if you're looking at your client's case history, you know what their problems are, you've analyzed their timeline, all that kind of stuff. You can start putting that together, or that's how I work with it. So we've got a comment about it's really important to understand the why, not just the what. And yeah, I mean, I absolutely agree. You do need to understand why things are working, and that's what I try to do in relation to the data that I'm looking at. I guess if they reveal their algorithm, they reveal all the information, we'd be making all the money and they wouldn't. I joke about it. It is a little bit frustrating on our part, but I think the reason I'm sitting here today with Claire is that I've used it for a number of years, had some great results with it, and it can be used in a very flexible way. I honestly, I tend to adapt the plan as we go through. I don't follow it absolutely religiously with everyone all of the time, and I think that's what I like about it. And I find that it's a really good springboard to get someone into better habits and understanding that massive connection between balancing your insulin, balancing your glucose, improving your glucose tolerance, and having those beneficial effects on your stress response, your inflammatory response, and just your general health. And as I said, they're your fundamentals for a healthy menopause. It's getting your blood sugar as balanced as possible, putting out the fires of any inflammation, and managing your stress. And I know that I'm like a completely annoying broken record that I say the same things over and over again, but they're really, really important core principles. And whether I'm talking to practitioners, because I do a lot of practitioner training as part of the menopause group that I run, and I also work with a lot of clients, it's the same message. It's got a slightly different angle, but it's the same message, really. So good message from Natalie. I presume there's this, you're going to be surprised, Natalie. This we've got a good answer for you. I presume there's no room for social life, dining out, etc. And on this program, well,
yeah, you can, but
absolutely.
not probably. You really do need those first sort of 2 weeks to 16 days. You need to be focused, I think is the word. But after that's what they want you to stress your metabolism slightly, because they want you to become metabolically flexible. That's exactly what it's designed to do. So yes, but probably no more than once a week. Certainly, during that first 12-week period.
So I did Metabolic. I did my own plan in 2011. And I got to the treat meal point, and I remember thinking, well, how am I gonna tackle like a treat meal? I don't quite get this, and I was very, very grumpy because I'd been on my 2 weeks of restricted plan, strict phase, and I remember the person who was taking me through it said, now what I'd recommend with your treat meal is that if you're going to have a glass of wine, have a glass of wine. If you're going to have a dessert, have a dessert. If you're going to have something quite rich, have something quite rich. Just don't have it all at once. And I was like, oh, no, I can show you. So I went to Pizza Express that night, and I had dough balls, followed by pizza, followed by chocolate brownie. I had about half a bottle of wine. And I mean, I thought I was winning at life until the next day. Oh my God, I felt absolutely awful. I felt sick, dizzy. And it wasn't so much the physical effect of just feeling like absolute crap. It was the effect on my mood. Oh my, I felt like I went a bit mental. I felt really upset, out of control, and just I felt really, really, really awful. And for the next few weeks, I stuck to the idea that actually, no, I'll just have a glass of wine with my meal, or tonight I'm going to have a dessert, or I'm going to have something that I wouldn't normally have. I might go out for an Indian, but I won't have something really rich. I'll have a variety of different things, but I'll maybe have more. And so I was quite glad I did my experiment, because it gave me a good understanding of why you don't just go out and cane it, because you can.
Yeah,
so I don't know.
You learn to feel the effects of actually what you eat, and that's what you want, isn't it? That's what people want to feel, how good it can feel when you eat well. And and I think
absolutely
that's the goal.
Yeah, Natalie said couldn't cope with a night out more than once a week. I can't even manage once a week, Natalie. You're doing better than me. So any more questions? Because we are coming up to 8:30, and I promised I wouldn't go over time, because I know it's a big ask for people midweek. It's not even midweek, is it? It's Tuesday, it's the beginning of the week. So well done for everyone who has joined us. But as I said, any questions, and Claire has as well, any questions, please contact us. We'll have a chat on the phone with you. if you are a practitioner or a nutritionist and you have some other questions, again, contact us and we'll do what we can to help you or pass on some details. I hope we've managed to answer your questions. I'm sure when you leave, you might have some others, but please just give us a shout. Did you have anything else to add, Claire?
No, just thank you everybody who has stayed to listen. Really appreciate it. So yeah, brilliant.
If you did want to listen to this again, or you want to forward it on to any friends or family or anything, we will get it uploaded to the YouTube channel. So if you are on Instagram, you probably are on Instagram if you've joined up to this. It is in my profile links and in my highlights, so you can find the link to the YouTube channel there. And that's got all of our free webinars we're going to start uploading. So we've started doing that fairly recently. So anything that's free will be available on there for you. Okay, well, thank you very much, everyone. I was going to say nice to see you all. I can't actually see you, but I can see the lovely list of you all. And look forward to seeing you again another time. Thanks then. Bye.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Bye.